Hello, everybody. Thanks for coming in the late afternoon. Hope you're not too tired and won't be too bored after my presentation. So welcome, everybody. My name is Rasheeva. I'm based in Sofia, in Bulgaria. I'm a senior trade officer at UKTI Sofia, but I also cover 9 other markets in Central and Eastern Europe. So you have seen probably the title of my presentation here. It says Emerging Europe. Probably you're wondering what Emerging Europe is. Actually, Emerging Europe is a region of 9 countries that are stretching from Austria to Romania and from Poland to Croatia. The common thing among all those countries is that they were, in their majority, part of the former communist bloc. Only Austria makes a glamorous exception. It is, of course, a very well-developed country, but because of its geographical proximity and historical links with most of the countries, it is also a part of our group. So Austria and UKTI Vienna, they're sort of a gateway to all the other markets in Eastern and Central Europe. So here I can probably briefly run through to the developments in the separate markets in our region, but I would first like to just mention a couple of words about Emerging Europe as a group. This is a market. I'm sorry, I need to go back. I don't know why it is. So, Emerging Europe. It is a market of 9 countries, as I said, with actually a size of 110 million consumers, which is obviously quite good in terms of numbers, and a combined GDP of over 1 trillion Great British pounds. It is a very easily accessed location because we are having flights at least 2 or 3 times a day from each capital in the city. It has a good potential to double exports by 2020, and all countries in the region are part of the European Union. So in terms of legislations, all the norms and rules that apply here in the UK are also applicable in our countries. It is a region, I would say, of a lower overall risk potential because, on the one hand, being part of the European Union, and on the other hand, because of the efforts all our governments are making to actually assume international standards and start working according to international regulations. The UK business and the UK products and services are very well met in all our countries. Actually, they enjoy high reputation. The only risk is that sometimes they're not very competitive in terms of prices because, for example, the German and Italian and Austrian products are most competitive and actually less pricey than the UK products. Here I can show you very quickly what is happening in the individual markets, but of course I'll have all your details. I'll send you my presentation, so if you have any questions you can ask me afterwards. I will also put you in touch with the commercial officers in all the posts, all the embassies in the region who are responsible for environmental and water activities, and they'll be able to provide more specific information on the projects that are being realized in our markets. So here we are having, for example, Hungary. Here is Poland, which is the biggest market in our region. And I've already heard comments that most exhibitors here are interested in Poland in particular. I can give you details of the commercial officer in Poland responsible for environmental and recycling matters. Romania is another big market in the region. And Slovakia and Slovenia are also members of our group. So what are the common features of all the markets in our region? In the first place, our governments and the municipalities in our countries, they're starting to look at actually the waste as a resource rather than just something we have to get rid of, which was always the case in the past. Generally, they have relatively low recycling levels in our countries. For example, Austria is the champion in our field because it is recycling some 60% of its waste. Poland is the second best. It is recycling something like 20% of its waste, while in Bulgaria and Romania the levels are lower than 10%, probably something like 7 or 8%. There is relatively poor organization in the collection and separation of waste at the point of discharge. So best practice and advice in terms of how to organize this will be very welcome on your part. Mostly landfills are prevailing in our markets. Something between 70 to 80% of all the waste is deposited there. And most advanced technologies like waste to energy and other similar, they're just starting to be actually utilized in our countries. There are lack of facilities for treatment of municipal and mostly hazardous waste, so any technical solutions in this respect will be highly welcome in our places. All our countries are embarking on projects and strategies for integrated management of waste, and all our countries are benefiting from EU money. Which means that you're welcome to come to market and start working with partners locally. What are the opportunities in emerging Europe? In the first place, this is consultancy. You see here design and project preparation, pre-feasibility and feasibility studies. Also, you can, sorry about that, you can do some, supervision of works for closing of non-compliant landfills and construction of new ones, technical assistance, asset management. I would like to particularly stress publicity and awareness campaigns on selective collection of waste, sorting, recycling and composting. We've had several successful cases in this respect. There is a UK company called Envirocoms. I don't know whether you've heard of them, but they realized several projects in Bulgaria on raising awareness, how best to collect separately waste and how to use it in the most successful and efficient way. In terms of works, there are also opportunities in construction of municipal waste disposal facilities or stations, also construction of facilities for other hazardous and electronic waste, closure of non-compliant landfills and recovery of gas from landfills. This is particularly topical these days given the energy crisis that is probably hitting the whole of Europe now. Equipment supply, various systems that can be utilized in our countries, waste transport vehicles in particular, for example, those that are more flexible and that can move freely in just narrow streets, because, you know, for example, in most of our capitals, the traffic is very heavy and vehicles are parked on the streets, so you need collection vehicles that are able to maneuver very quickly throughout the streets. What is the business culture in emerging Europe? Actually, the most effective approach is to visit the country and meet all the stakeholders in the field. Relationships are of prime importance. There is, of course, a certain amount of bureaucracy, and all the tenders, even those that are actually supported by EU money, they are announced and handled in the local language, so you need a local partner to be able to bid for those projects. In terms of language barrier, I would say that English and German are the most popular languages in our destinations, so you won't have a language problem, unless, of course, you need a partner to prepare the documentation and submit it in the respective language. How you could engage in emerging Europe? The most efficient way will be through joint venture partnerships and appointing agents and distributors. You can also do this by setting a commercial company or just buying the stakes in existing companies. Public-private partnerships are also becoming very popular. The legislation is in place, and the municipalities are desperate for having partners with some financial capabilities to allow them to realize PPP projects. UKTI can help in various ways. You may have heard about the so-called OMAS. We are still doing it, although this is not our priority any longer. But we can do specific research for you if you're interested in finding a partner or you need to research in detail any sector. We are regularly publishing business opportunities on our portal. If you're following it, that's fine. If not, you can register now and receive up-to-date information on developments in all our countries. We are organizing seminars, different events for raising awareness, and of course we are hosting many missions, trade missions from the UK. I would like to just ask you to save a date. Actually, March 2015, we are organizing a mega mission to Romania and Bulgaria, two capitals. We are aiming to have something like 60 companies from the UK. That will be from the field of infrastructure and environment. And you're very welcome to join the mission. We shall organize receptions at the ambassadors' residences in Sofia and Bucharest, and one-to-one meetings for all mission members, for all participants. So I'm available here. Also, two of my colleagues are here from the Slovak Republic and from Hungary. If you need any information or any queries, just address them to me. I'd be happy to help. So thank you very much for coming.